And now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and begin today's event, Bank Modernization in 2022. I'd like to hand today's call over to your moderator, Mike Sisk.
Thank you very much, Caroline, and I would like to welcome the audience once again. We are very grateful that you have chosen to share some of your busy day with us. We know that your time is valuable, and we will honor that today with what I'm confident will be an engaging 60 minutes or so of discussion. Once again, our topic today is Bank Modernization in 2022, and my name is Mike Sisk. I will be your moderator today. I am a contributing editor at American Banker, and my articles have also appeared in Barron's, Crane's New York Business, Inc., Institutional Investor, Strategy and Business, and Worth. I am joined today by three experts of the banking industry, and I'll invite them to introduce themselves today. And perhaps, Rama, we could start with you.
Thank you, Mike. Hi all. My name is Rama Chirukuri. I am the head of global regulatory programs as well as data governance programs at Citi's Consumer Bank. I've been in Citi about 3 years and the finance industry for about close to 10 years. And I have a lot of experience prior to that in telecom, almost 15 years in executive positions, and prior to that in airlines as well and travel industry. So that's for me.
Hello, everybody, and I'm glad you've joined us here today. My name is Kim Curley, and I lead the Workforce Readiness Consulting practice at NTT Data. Our practice is focused on the human elements of business, and our goal is to help all of our clients really succeed and advance their business, leveraging their very most important assets, which is, of course, their people. All right, Madhu, bring us home.
Thank you. Yeah, Madhu Margadi. Thank you, Mike and Kim. Rama, we're thrilled to join this, elite panel and colleagues. We work every day. So I have 25 years in banking, only in banking and financial services. I do not know anything else. And my experience spans from business architecture in all aspects of banking, end-to-end banking, from branch to central bank or the federal bank. I've been looking at digital transformation, bank modernization, and solving clients' problem in my career. So that's about it.
Fantastic. Thanks, all. And now, just before we jump into things, I wanted to reiterate two quick things that Caroline mentioned at the top, and that is we have the ability to ask questions today. We've got a lot to get through. I'm not sure we're going to get to answer everyone's questions. But please ask away. We very much want to hear from you. And if we don't get to your questions at the end of the program, we'll definitely follow up afterwards. So please, if something pops into your head, a question, ask away. We also have a poll today, and I always encourage 100% participation. We do share the results live, so please weigh in on that. That'll be coming up in just a few minutes. But right now, I'd like to turn and ask Madhu. I understand that we are going to discuss 4 areas of modernization today. And could you start us off by telling us how you came to focus on these 4 areas of modernization?
Thank you, Mike. Sure. NTT Data has clients all over the world. And in the beginning of 2021, when we started having conversation with clients, the conversation began to shift to one of these 4 areas, right? One or more of these 4 areas. While there are many other things when it comes to modernization, but these 4 distinctly are beginning to rise to the top in our conversation, and they are transformation of customer experience, exceeding customer expectations, as a catalyst to fuel bank or financial institutions' goal of growth, while customer at the center of it. Efficiency and agility, this is something that we always grapple in a day-to-day world or day of life. The measurement and ways of achieving efficiency and agility has shifted. So in terms of the key is incremental interventions, careful thinking and planning, and also measuring it. That is the second one. And the third one is workforce or workplace transformation. There are a lot of new trainings, new services available, new ways of working that exist today, the environment, especially pandemic. or post-pandemic. This transformation includes meeting employee expectation in order to retain and hire top talent, and employee workflow to imbibe the organizational knowledge about a customer and the customer journey itself, right? So that is the third area that we come across. And the fourth one is effective control. So essentially, when you look at risk and compliance and the interconnectivity, global connectedness has increased significantly, right? De-risking banks. Bank is all about risk management. De-risking banks and the financial institutions through meaningful control definitions and certified testing and culture of self-identification at first, second, and third line of defense. So these are all the four topics that we consider cornerstones of bank modernization. Mike.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for that context, Madhu. And just everyone in the audience, we're going to be discussing these four sort of in order in our discussion today. Each of the panel members are going to share how they're engaging in these areas, their challenges, and the benefits from their point of view. So first up will be our transformation of the customer experience. And I guess for this one, why don't we, please, Rama, let's start with you. So what are you seeing or doing in the area, and if you see that as a catalyst for growth?
Sure, absolutely. To look at this, it's good to take a step back into the history of some of the large financial institutions and what they're facing. First things first, the industry, like any other industry I've been in, I've read about, started off small, selling, creating products and selling to the customers that are more product-centric sales. And they've grown. These companies have been around hundreds of years, and they've grown large. The way to grow and exponentially grow, for that matter, is to innovate on the products, or to take the same products over to multiple countries and multiple regions and everything else. And then you merge and acquire, and that's how we end up with such large companies over time. Now, there is always a pivotal point where we realize that you're not going to get a whole lot of new products suddenly. You're not going to get a whole lot of new customers suddenly. You're going to have only X billion people, in the world, and everything is conquered everywhere. So there is tight competition, and the market gets stiff. And I recall this experience when I started my career many decades ago in the airline industry, where they faced it already in the 80s, and they said, "Hey, we can't fly more flights. We can't do anything. Number of people are flying were already less. You're going to exponentially grow for some time," but they were ahead. And then we started off changing and pivoting to customer-centric behavior. And they said, now we need to figure out how to hold on to our customers that we already have, and started the AAA, or American Advantage loyalty program, which was one of the first in the world in loyalties, and today even a flourish down the street as a loyalty program, as you can see. But to be innovative, to be pioneering, takes a realization that there is only so much. We will reach this dead end very soon, and that's where the banks were and are at this point. It's not easy to change the big ship. It's a big ship. It's going to take time to turn. But the turn has happened. About a decade ago or so, lots of things have changed. Obviously, we are changing. It's a catalyst. Anything now that the customer wants, we have to change. We have multiple products, multiple services, across regions. So we have challenges. That's also an advantage. We have a lot of variety. Large companies particularly have a great variety, great cash flow, great everything. But they need to change to cater, and change everything in the back end as well, to cater towards customers. And the good news, and I see a lot of positives in the last decade that have been around, that every management decision is around trying how to effect that change in a large company as fast as we can, to make everybody think customer-centric. And the minute everybody thinks customer-centric, things will change. It just takes time. We do have this as a journey. Everybody is in a different level of maturity. But it's a journey we've embarked, and yeah, we're on it. So it is definitely a catalyst. It's definitely customer is the center of everything we do, and it's a journey we're on.
Excellent. Thank you, Rama. Madhu or Kim, do you have anything to add?
Maybe I
go first this time, Madhu.
Thank you. So I think I agree with Rama. Customer centricity is particularly, or hyper personalization is driving that journey map, right? If you look at it, nearly 9 out of 10 banks experience issues are all related to the digital transformation. Either the investor managing investor expectation, or maybe the readiness to adopt or accept fintech, right? So that is one challenge I see. Then learning from what has worked and what has not worked, like, and what are all the principles of successful transformation, and also have a continuous focus on execution, right? Test and learn, and then also have a self-funding model that kind of fuels the journeys, right? Then modernization most often taken as more like an IT, but it is not. It touches all aspects of organization. It touches organization itself, customer interactions, culture, and also product and services. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, Madhu, totally agree. And there's lots of great points in here. There are so many non-traditional options for banking and financial services clients these days. And all of us have been so conditioned to expect Amazon-like buying intimacy and Google-like speed, and including, Rama, to your point, at the florist down the street with their frequent buyer program. But the gap to close for most financial services institutions is frankly pretty wide. If you add to that the legacy, the fact that legacy business and data architectures tend to favor the business unit over the holistic client, there's a mountain to climb. And those are really the mountains that we're climbing and the walls that we're tearing down. The winners in this contest, if you will, or this roadmap, this evolution or transformation, will be those who make these difficult transformations by really focusing at the client for sure, but also looking at the employee. So the experience of the employee is a huge determinant of the quality of the experience of the client. This is especially true when you're talking about one-on-one interactions, where you're dealing directly with the client in either a face-to-face or screen-to-face style. But it's also true when you're talking about the employees who are transitioning, let's say, applications to the cloud or working on your AI solutions. The more intuitive and smooth you can make the experience of your workers while they're working, the more intuitive and smooth your customer experience will be as well. So client centricity and hyper-personalization for sure. We need to expand that circle to include the employees as well to really take it to the next level.
Interesting. Thank you. Yeah, there really is a straight line between that employee experience and the customer experience. I hear that so often. Thank you. All right, let's jump into our first and only poll today. And what I'm going to do here, folks, is I'm just going to I'm putting this up here. I'm going to read through the question, the couple answers, and hopefully that gives everyone enough time to make their selection. And with this poll, you can actually choose the top 3 here. So from the following 6 growth capabilities, which do you think your company should prioritize to attract and retain customers? A new customer experience and products driven by consumer digital dexterity, hyper-automation to drive productivity, or data intelligence to enable personalized experiences, targeted innovation tied to business outcomes, expanded partnerships through ecosystems, or cloud computing to enhance agility and accessibility. So I'll give everyone just a couple moments to absorb that question and make those couple of selections. And I've got a handy little tool down here where I can see how many folks are participating in our poll today. So I like to hold things open until we get a nice selection. Truth to be told, I very rarely get 100% participation. I'm still waiting for that day, but I get good participation, as I am getting today, as a matter of fact. So thank you for putting those answers in there. And all right, let's just go ahead and share the results now. And so here we go. Yeah, interesting. Pretty well spread across here. So 61.3% of you said data intelligence to enable personalized experiences, and that was the number 1 vote getter. And then we had a couple grouped in the 40s, 46.2% targeted innovations tied to business outcomes, 41.9% new customer experience and products driven by consumer digital dexterity. So thank you. Interesting results here. Really appreciate that feedback, everyone. And I'll leave those results up there for just a moment or two. But I could invite Madhu. What do you think of these results? Are there any sort of surprises here that you see, or they're kind of in line with what you expected?
I think it is expected, and definitely data intelligence. That's where when I talked about intelligence around customer in an organization, and your ability to leverage that intelligence in a given transaction, which lasts for a few seconds, to service that customer. So therefore, data intelligence, especially about what not to offer, makes a very critical aspect. So I would second this poll results.
Yeah, Madhu, one thing I'd add there is I think the criticality of this sentence is in the second word, intelligence. There's lots and lots of data to be had. Turning it into something that can wow your customer and keep their eyeballs, is where it gets really challenging. So I think that intelligence piece of that sentence is the most important there.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
And let's. Oh, did I cut somebody off? Rama, did you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right, excellent. So let's jump into our next section here. As Madhu said in his intro, the measurement and ways of achieving efficiency and agility have shifted, and it'd be great for our panelists to discuss this biggest shift, the biggest shift that they've seen in the industry. Why don't we start with Rama again?
All right. Why don't we start with me? So I think, again, like I said, I don't want to repeat what I said a little bit, but the topic of efficiency and agility for large financial institutions is very critical. If it's a smaller company or a startup, there's an assumption and presumption that, hey, they're already efficient. Sometimes they're not, but you won't even know it, that they're not efficient because their volumes are smaller, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes to larger organizations, it's definitely, in any industry for that matter, we all know how painful it is to sit on a phone call waiting to resolve a bill issue or something else. And so for us, we need to really do a whole lot of work to change the perception that we are too big and not agile. So it's a very important topic. But again, we can't even hide the facts that we are large. We have multiple products and everywhere in the world, and so it's you can only put a dog and pony show up for so long. It's definitely somewhere it's going to crack. So the key is to leverage. I think the poll was fantastic. At digital, trying to get data, trying to use data, use the new technologies to really enable multiple decision-making processes within the bank, in the operations side, in everything. It needs to creep into every part of the bank, or for that matter, any industry, so that we can actually make decisions. All of these are about decision-making. It's really about decision-making. If I were to do a payment fast or make a credit analysis fast, it's a decision to be made. And for that decision to be made, some algorithms need to be run, which means we need to provide the data for it. If you give the data, then we can use the technology to run and make the decision on behalf of a human. And if you don't do all of that underlying plumbing correctly, that decision will end up taking time. And then we'll need a human, then they will need to look, then we need a verification process because humans could be making erratic decisions, so on and so forth, and we need certification, the whole 9 yards. And I think at the heart of everything is data intelligence. It's all in there, but it's not easy to pull out. And how the banks or the industry in general is approaching it when you take top down, this is bottom up, is to first look and see, to become agile, it's not just data, it's just, yeah, that's one huge part of it. But at the same time, you need to take top-down approach. You look at it, the approach usually is set a strategy. Can we really become so agile and so efficient everywhere in the world? Maybe not. So then you start looking at how do we simplify, make a simple strategy, focus strategy, and then follow it up with how do we improve in those areas. So prioritize, improve in those areas. Put on a paper, what are our costs, where are we going, what are the systems, what are the processes, where is it slowing down, metrics, and then address those, and then you go into the slowly expand that approach. But there is a focus, and this is exactly how I've seen pretty much every financial institution either I've worked with, approach it is get a strategy, clear approach, narrow down the focus, and then address everything below it. Now, the key though, I think, Madhu said it earlier, is it's not just technology. It's not just data in the technology space, or when I say IT department. It is really leveraging technology everywhere in the bank. It is for them, for the marketing departments to use a lot of that, for the sales people to use a lot of that, for the operations people to use a lot of automation. It's for everybody in the bank to use technology for what it's for their benefit. That is the key. And I say it's nothing to do with the financial industry alone, but I know it's behind from other industries, and I'm currently in it, so it's obviously very pertinent, but it is common to multiple such industries. And I think the key is to get a strategy, focus, simplify, and make sure every part of the company uses technology. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Rama. Thank you very much. And so, Kim and Madhu, is there anything else that either of you are saying? Maybe we'll start with Kim this time.
Sure. So when we talk about the biggest shifts that we're seeing with efficiency and agility, I think in some ways my mind goes back to everything old is new again. And what I mean by that is, okay, first on the efficiency side, I think we are really seeing a return to some of the central philosophies of Lean and Six Sigma manufacturing. I know that sounds really weird when I say that, but I think we are now at a point that we are looking at if it does not add value, real value that the customer is willing to pay for, throw it out. Bells and whistles to products and things like that, to try to attract the client based on those things without really understanding what the client valued. And so I see a shift more towards that simplicity or starting with something that's more simple. And that doesn't only speak to efficiency, it also speaks to agility. So as banks modernize, they're really taking a page from the playbook of the non-traditional competitors, which is you basically start with a core MVP product, you hear from your customers, and you keep building. And it's that kind of agility, the kind that begins with listening to the clients, and then results in some twists and turns in a strategic roadmap that I think wins and most importantly keeps clients. And that's a really big distinction or additive part of the sentence there. But efficiency and agility aren't really just about the products. I love that Rama said it's the people in the sales department that are using more technology. It's the people in marketing that need to use more technology. That's totally true. Mostly, I think this efficiency and agility is about people. We have kind of swung the pendulum, or the pendulum is start swinging back to a focus on the organization and the workforce. And that focus, I think, is really important to take in an approach to modernization, because the people and the organization need the agility too. So here we're talking about learning agility. Does your workforce have the ability to pick up and learn new skills rapidly in response to changing needs. So if you're in an agile fashion changing your products, you may have workforces that need to change their skill sets or pick up new and different skills. And then they also need resiliency. So if you think about the resiliency of your individuals, they really need to have a high ability to roll with the punches through change. And everything we're talking about, of course, is a massive amount of change. So I think those are two shifts that we're starting to see. Madhu, I know you've got some points to weigh in. Why don't you tell us what you think here too?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. In my view, journey also means that how customer understand a product or a service when he's either at the point of using it or buying a product or a service. So therefore, simplification is also an efficiency game. And then on the technology transformation side, when you look at transformation, it is always not rip and replace, right? It involves creating new business models, new collaborative models, which will implement a function or a feature in a reasonable amount of time. Like say, I would say 90 days. Most banks, we have all last 2 years shifted, or 2+ years shifted towards that incremental release of a function or a product feature, right, within 90 days. So that you can you can fail fast or move fast, that you can implement. That is also kind of brings agility and efficiency. Then invest in a roadmap which addresses customers, products, and technology, right? On the product side, look at purpose, function, construct, data flow, and customer expectation. And also design should involve room for evolution, like a product evolution and customization, which may be required to a particular function, right? So that is a key aspect of efficiency. And then also on the technology front, examine your technical architecture to assess, also integrate or incorporate real-time processing, because it's all about here and now, right? Most of the ratification or ramifications are here and now. Proactive monitoring should be part of your technology architecture, and then also multi-channel capabilities. So when you look all of these, this is, in my view, is the destination we are all trying to land, which is digital transformation. And the challenge is which road to take and when to take it. Especially in banking, you want to start in consumer banking, or do you want to start in commercial banking, or do you want to start in institutional? So the timing and when and where is very important. So that also gives you efficiency and agility.
Fantastic. Thank you, Madhu. All right, good. So I think, yeah, let's move on to our third section here now, workplace transformation. So we all know that this requires new training and new services and new ways of working in today's environment. The transformation also includes meeting employee expectations in order to retain them and to hire them. But I'd love to hear from our panel about the unexpected challenges and benefits they are experiencing in this area. So let's mix things up and start with Kim at this time. Kim, what do you think?
Great, thanks. This is a topic I could talk about all day long. So a few things is, and first, Cynthia, I see your question in the Q&A, and I'm actually going to address it while I'm talking here. Great question. One of the things that all of us are talking about nearly every day is the Great Resignation and the challenges with engaging our current workforce and attracting the best talent that's in motion in the marketplace right now. And I'm an optimist. So Madhu knows me well, so he knows this about me. So I'm going to talk about the benefits that we've seen from the changes. One of them is that we have finally laid to rest the outdated idea that if my workers are not in the office where I can see them, they're not working and we're not getting our money's worth out of them. I believe that the last few years have proven that we can put that myth to bed. That doesn't mean all of us need to be completely remote. It doesn't need to be all of us need to be in the office. But the idea that we have proven that it will work is a very good thing. The other benefits that come right to mind when we think about modernization is a core function of that is to place the work with the right worker. And I think we are seeing that benefit happening now too. In some cases, that means a bot of some sort can and should take over some of the mundane and repetitive and rule-based tasks that many of the humans like me are absolutely bored to tears by today. And notice that I said tasks. At this stage, it's more that we are offloading tasks than we are jobs, which is another benefit for many in the workplace today or workforce today. As humans are freed up to focus on those tasks and activities that are uniquely human, things like creative and complex problem solving, empathy with clients, we can let our bot colleagues do what I call the boring stuff. But it's also the boring stuff that needs to have decisions made in a very consistent fashion. It takes that erratic behavior that I think Rama mentioned earlier. It takes that erratic behavior of decision makers off the table. And so it increases compliance and increases, frankly, safety and decreases risk in the workplace. The last benefit I'll talk about is that the definition of the workforce is expanding. So the pandemic, generational preferences, the gig economy, all of those are telling us that we actually need an ecosystem to ensure that we have the right workers doing the right work at the right time. Not time meaning time of day, but at the right time in the cycles, right? And for some companies, that means fewer employees and more partners. In other cases, we see the opposite. Clients pulling back from external labor sources in favor of employees, sometimes at the suggestion of the regulators. So I think those are all benefits that we're seeing. Real quickly, Cynthia, your question around what are some specific ways that organizations can frame resiliency in order to help keep employees engaged in this tough market because they're frustrated and burned out? Well, the first is you have to actually talk the talk. So if you're saying to your employees that our employees are the most important part of our company needs to put its money where its mouth is and make sure that they are paying attention to things that are most important for the workers. Simple examples of that might be cultural expectations of work hours. Most of us work with teams that are around the world these days, so we can't necessarily, carve out nobody sends emails from 6 p.m. East Coast to 8 a.m. East Coast, but we can set some expectations that if I send an email to you outside of your normal working hours, I don't expect you to answer in the middle of the night. So there's some very simple things that you can do around doubling down on the culture that really means a lot to you. That not only says a lot to the workers that you have today, but also says a lot to the workers that you may attract. So it's things like that, thinking about what are those hallmarks of the culture that you really want to double down on. So those are some things that I would say are great benefits of what's going on in this transformation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Kim. Rama, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Absolutely. I think I couldn't agree with more with Kim. Everything she said is so true. I enjoy transformations. I've been part of huge transformations in my life, and I keep looking for the next one. And I'm actually in the middle of one anyway. And I think all of these transformations, when they're done, they take 5 years, 6 years. And I used to head crisis management in a large multinational company for a while. And after every crisis, they would ask me what worked. And actually, it's really not what worked. It's about who did the work. It's the people that do the work. And then you wonder, did you hire someone in the last 1 month to get the work done? Not really. So everybody's already there. It's the matter of how you lead and how you drive them to a singular focus, but also lead by example. And I think everything boils down to how we treat our employees and how we can get them along the journey. And I know the very interesting questions out there. One, how do you drag along employees with you? I've never seen a problem with it. It's just that if we're not, as leaders, willing to put the time, I've never seen it. Then it never happens. If we put the time, I've not seen a single person who stayed behind. Now, I do find resistance, but at the same time, there are personal issues, there are other issues. Some people just don't want to come. They come late. But there is persistence, something called persistence. If we want to get them along and we believe that they are a part of our team and they need to come with us, the benefits are unbelievable. But it is a challenge. Transformation is not about just people changing and we stay far away as leaders and force them to change. Force never works. It only works for a certain amount of time. Now, these are changes, and the part I'm trying to highlight, though, is these are changes not just for the company's good, or it's about selling, but at this point, I don't need to sell at all about how the world is going towards data. It is about making sure that they're getting proper training and they're learning, and it's not easy to do that, but to get them to train and to make sure they understand that this is with them for the rest of their lives, because from here on, their career grows. Now, there are not people who also don't want much of a growth anyway, but I don't see them as more resisting as much as they're just not contributing too much. So there's always as a bit, every employee, every person is different. We treat everybody differently, but one needs to be understanding their problems and dragging them along. But if you do drag them along, here's the benefit. Amazing change happens fast, because until we enable everyone in the company to go fast and believe in the actual change and the transformation we're trying to do, it won't happen fast. It never happens top down. Direction comes top down, execution comes through belief, and that belief needs to make that happen fast. And to Kim's point, she said it right on in the front of the call, customer centric, yes, but it has to be driven by the employees. It has to be employee centric as well. And if those two work, if all the super tech companies that are out there, they treat their employees as well as they can. If they don't, it's a market that people will fly away from. So it is always about how we treat our employees and how we leverage their skills or improve their skills to obviously treat our customers better. It's a good blend, and it's very important. Pandemic didn't really, in the beginning, didn't do us a lot of justice, but at this point, I think a lot of companies, and I know a lot of European companies have turned around, and large companies, a couple of 100,000 people and plus, have already made everything for the future, forever, 50% from home. And these are not decisions that we would have taken 2 years ago. So it's amazing change. Employees are now the focus of a lot of things, but we do have to help them come along the journey as well as leaders.
Yep. Mike, I just wanted to add what Kim and Rama said. So I completely agree with that. And also it is also a fact that I believe how to eliminate wastage of human intellect, right? It is an extremely important aspect of it. And then when you do that, hybrid workforce takes the center stage. That is how you do mundane things, repetitive things using robotics technology or chatbot or conversational techniques, and then supplement with thinking, analytics, lexical or decision making to human. And here, a roadmap with a 3 to 5 year vision is very much needed, and the tactics involving talent, nurturing, leadership, culture, and also deliver to the new workforce requirements, which Kim and Rama alluded to. Like I said, there is no timing per se, right? Because we are all working remotely, the time tend to expand 24 hours is not enough, right? And similarly, have a coordinated change enablement process, right, for the transition. Specific workforce and human capital metrics. I call workforce as human capital. Therefore, metrics to measure the value and effectiveness is very important in the workforce transformation.
Excellent. Thank you, Madhu. All right. Moving right along here, I want to we've got a lot of great content to get through here in our time together, so I want to make sure that we cover all of our bases. So this fourth section, effective control, let's talk about risk and regulation and how banks are addressing these in 2022. And please, if you don't mind, Rama, could I go to you again for this to lead us off on this discussion?
Why am I not surprised? This is my area anyway. So thank you for that. If we really look at risk and controls, I think Madhu said it earlier, banks or financial institutions, the only product they sell is risk. So they need to measure that well, and I think they need to be on top of the game, right? And it is a challenging bit. Again, with large companies is different, with smaller companies is different. Technology is helping us to get better and better, faster. But if you look at it at a core, we have our risks are measured in multiple levels and multiple detail, operational risk or credit risk or anything you can name it. I've 32 or 33 last time I saw, and there's just a whole list. But really, at the end of the day, all of that is to ensure that we have we are not going beyond certain thresholds, and we are a sound company. It always boils down to that. But for that, as I said earlier, and I alluded to, it's about enabling people to make the right decisions. And for that specific purpose, very key, to instrument all of our systems and processes to provide data in a sufficiently detailed manner so that those decisions can be made either by humans or automation very quickly and effectively, accurately, right? And that is the crux of all that we're trying to solve. Data analytics, big data, there's so many technologies out there. But one of the things that we always we face the challenge is, how do you instrument this many systems and this many processes? So again, it goes back to prioritization, but we can. And there's a lot of new technology that's helped out there. There's, again, Madhu alluded to the rip and replace. In some cases, we might want to rip and replace. In some cases, we might want to enhance. It all depends on that. But we, as a lot of the financial institutions, are continuously focused on trying to get to the bottom of the data. That helps us get from a reactive world to a proactive world. But even before that, in my opinion, and when I look at projects that come to me and kind of almost prioritize them, I look at them as, first of all, I look at it as my risk needs to be comprehensive first, accurate. Once that's done, even if it's manual, I then focus on automation. Okay, I got this right. Then the automation part of it. Then after that, I say, okay, if I can automate, is it proactive or reactive? Even if it's reactive, which is typically what it is, it doesn't mean it's always that way. We already improved a lot in this space. But if it's reactive, is the reaction time fast enough that I can, even if something happens, I got an alert and I can react fast enough? Or can I get to a point where, I'm warned, so proactive, I'm warned, given enough time, an hour for me to fix the problem, or a day. And so all of these are what we look at, trying to put effective controls. The breadth, accuracy, of course, from a cost perspective, is automation, and then proactivity. These are generally how we look at the bit. Data is a critical part of all of this, and we're all on a journey, and we're doing a good job in this front. In different parts of maturity of the organization, but in different parts, we're making awesome progress this year, actually, across the industry. So, Madhu, what do you think?
So sorry, absolutely. And see, the target operating model and effective controls requires a purposeful architecture, and which should include automation, which should include controls, exposure of controls, and exception management of when those controls fails, right? And then what is the best practice? Can we learn? I think there is an audience question, right? How do we acquire this knowledge? I think acquiring the knowledge is learning from regions, learning from maturities, learning from successes that our ecosystem provides. I think applying it is a very important aspect of it. And then also reducing operational costs, and also bringing what you said, instrumentation or instrumenting is about monitoring and sustainability, right? Key metrics, how do you address those metrics, how the responses become stronger, and how these responses can be data-driven, automated. Then transitioning from a reactive model to a proactive risk management, like say self-identification of risks, or even exposures at all the three lines of defense, right? And especially in banks and financial institution operation side, and also more proactive state of effective adherence of risk control, right? Both internal, because as external controls are important, internal controls are also important, and especially with third parties and external, right? Is all about identification, automation, and monitoring. And risk should be considered as a program, right? Which is because every time, every year, and every major event induces risk. The interconnectivity induces risk. How we deal with it, how do we, like the pandemic itself, how we are working remotely by making those adjustments to ensure that we de-risk the franchise and move forward. I think that's my 2 cents, Rama.
And I'll just add one last point here, and I know everybody's saying, oh, she's going to talk about the workforce again, and you're right, I am. When we think about risk, I really think that the next frontier is the workforce. The next risk frontier is the workforce. So, and here I'm talking about behaviors. There are a lot of things that we can control, a lot of things that we can automate, that we can safeguard, but we still are a bunch of humans running around executing business to please our clients. So when I think about the resilience of workers, the burnout of workers, will burnout put a key operation in jeopardy, one that depends on the workforce? And then, of course, we're still back to the Great Resignation. If you've got a mission critical area that requires humans, and they all do, what happens if you have key players resign? So from my perspective, I think a lot about humans is the next great risk frontier. And I know on another session, we're going to talk more about risk, but I just encourage folks to think about it in terms of your humans as well.
Interesting. Thank you. All right. So that actually brings us to the end of our 4 discrete sections here. But I did want to, in the time we have left, we've got about 10 minutes. I just wanted to kind of ask a final question of all 3 of our panelists today, and maybe I'll start with Rama again, because that's what I've been doing all day, so I'm going to do that again. But could you just, in a couple of sentences or paragraphs, however you think through, could you describe what you would consider to be good bank modernization in 2022?
Two things. To me, effective controls is critical. I wear that hat, and I see that effective controls topic is very dear to me. But underlying that, if we did it in an automated manner, and I think one of the questions out there was how does regulatory compliance issue not come in the way of software development and slow down things, so to speak? We can do all of that fast. I mean, I know I run data governance, and one of the most painful things to do in a bank or in any institution, particularly in a bank. But there are so many ways in which we can automate stuff to not slow down the development of the software. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the data governance aspects need metadata, and metadata can be captured automated. But without that part, we've lost our ways. The entire industry of technologies partly has lost our ways. We've just decided we can do whatever we want very fast without following the old rules of proper documentation, proper analysis, what is data, what it means, etc. We need to get that back. But the good thing is we don't need to do it manually. We can do it automated. And I think by automated certifications, automated metadata collection, automated everything as much as we can, use the creativity that we all have, we actually are encountering, we're coming across cases where we are actually going faster in our software development. But yes, it's a slow process. We have to convince people, we need to get believers, etc. But that myth needs to go away. But we have a hurdle to climb, and large companies have a hurdle to climb. So the second part that I see in large financial institutions would be, how do we get to that digital experience very fast, given the breadth that we are, the big customer base that we have? How do we move to the cloud? I mean, these are all decisions that every team, every organization, every section makes for themselves. But how do we pivot very quickly? And there are lots, like getting to the cloud is very good, because when we get there, we already have a lot of instrumentation built in. But sometimes it's not possible. So you got to make those decisions quickly. It's all about quick decision making, fast decision making, focused spending on money, and getting to the digital experience very quickly before we lose in the next 1, 2, 3 years a lot more customers to fintech. Because once we do that, we will lose cash flow. We will lose the customers, then we lost everything. So as fast as we can, we are moving. There's a lot of success, but I think those are the 2 things: effective controls and speed at which we can get to a better customer experience. But along with it, changing our workforce is critical, I think, Kim. I mean, without that, it ain't happening.
Excellent.
My 2 cents, Mike, is I think future-proofing is very important when we do modernization, especially banks and financial institutions, because the autonomy of either product-led or a in-house built, right? You need to have a future-proofing, and also you need to have a modern operating model, continuously, reinvent the operating model to have a high degree of data, high degree of a diverse workforce, fitting into that modern operating model, and also take advantage of digital data and cloud. So therefore, future-proofing in my mind comes to my mind as a priority.
It's great, Madhu. And I just, you all have already said it, but the 3 things I think about when I think about good modernization, number 1, it puts the client at the center. Number 2, it relentlessly pursues simplicity. And don't let anyone kid you, simplicity is hard. It's the hardest work you'll do. And 3rd, invest in the workforce. So if you're putting your client at the center, really relentlessly focusing on simplicity and also investing in your workforce, you're going to get there.
Fantastic. All right. I think that's a great note to wrap things up on. As I said, everyone that's asked questions today, we will definitely be following up with you in the next day or 2. Really appreciate all the engagement we've had today. We'll also be sending everyone that's with us today a follow-up email in the next day or 2 that'll have a link to the recording of this event. So we'll be able to you'll be able to sort of relive the highlights at your leisure in the next whenever you've got a chance. There's some good stuff here to dig back into, so I would encourage it. And also, I just want to thank Kim, Rama, and Madhu, all 3. It's just been a really interesting discussion today, important topic, and just enjoyed my time with you and learned some things. So really thank you. And I think that with that, I will wrap it up. Wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you'll join us again here very soon. Thanks so much.